Hello, and welcome to the SCP Containment Breach Encounters tier list. Before we go over anything else, let's set a few rules. We'll be playing on Keter difficulty. We'll be banning the use of the Super Gas Mask, which gives you infinite stamina, because it makes most encounters really easy, and then we'll also be banning certain items and strategies, such as using the Severed Hands to get past 049's chamber, using the code to get past the maintenance tunnel, and using SCP-1499 to despawn 106, because that makes any 106 encounter really easy. Now, with all those rules out of the way, let's get into the actual tier list itself. Hopefully, the entries and the tiers are fairly self-explanatory. Trivial, obviously, should be anything you should pass every single time and have absolutely no difficulty with. Easy, you should still be passing these every single time, but there might be a little bit of difficulty to it. Can be tricky means that depending on the factors, it might be easy or hard. Difficult means it's going to be difficult to get through, obviously, and you're going to die means this is the biggest run ender on a Keter run. Alright, now you might be looking at the list of options we have here and see that there's not every single encounter in the game. I tried to pick the most major encounters in the game, the ones that you have to go through to beat the game, or ones that you'll see a lot. So there might be some 173 encounters not included. You know, I didn't include like the one in the light containment zone with 106, where you go to an end room and he sucks a janitor down, and then, yeah, you get the point. Anything major, any major encounters is what I'm including here. And keep in mind, this is just my opinion. I'm not a speedrunner or a hardcore gamer or anything like that. I'm a very casual gamer. And while this is one of my favorite games of all time, there are still some things that I'm not great at. So keep in mind, this is just what I find personally difficult. Let's start with the first one on the list, which is SCP-173 in the server farm in the entrance zone. Now, this one is interesting. 173 encounters are usually pretty easy because 173 is pretty easy. You just have to keep looking at him and stay far away from him when you blink. But a lot of challenges with 173 will make that difficult in some way, and in the server farm, it makes it difficult to find where he is because that entire section down there is kind of a maze. That being said, though, once you know the layout of it, it's pretty easy, and I'd actually say that this is more detrimental for 173 in the current version than helpful for him, because this is also where the nine-tailed fox will spawn a lot, and then he'll get captured there. Like, I feel like 90% of the time I see 173 being captured, it's in the server farm. So we're still going to put it in easy and not trivial, because you can get tripped up sometimes going through the maze of the server farm itself, and sometimes you get turned around and 173 snaps your neck. But you should be getting through that most of the time. Next we have 173 random spawns, and this is the only 173 encounter I'm going to put in You're Gonna Die. Now again, this might be where my my scrubness shows, but I get tripped up by this so much. I played a bunch of Keter runs in preparation for this, and this might be like the #1 run ender for me. Just 173 showing up in a random corner of a room somewhere, and I look away for a second, and bam, I am dead. He is so persistent, especially in Keter mode. He spawns so often, and that can end a lot of runs. That's really the only situation in which 173 is really tricky, is if you don't know where he is, and when he spawns randomly, that means you don't know where he is. Okay, SCP-966, I'm just going to put in... Yeah, I'm going to put it in easy. They move slowly, and that whole, like, oh, you think something's here, or whatever, that pops up, that shows up. The period of time between that showing up and them attacking you is long enough that you should be getting out of there by the time they start attacking you. So, most of the time, you shouldn't be getting messed up by these guys. Sometimes they like to hang out in elevators, which can be really difficult. if you're trying to get up in there. But most of the time, again, it literally tells you you're about to be attacked, go run away. So that's pretty easy, but again, they can trip you up sometimes if they're hiding in tricky spots or like blocking doorways or something, especially when you're trying to run from something else. But most of the time, SCP-966 is a very minor threat. SCP-860, I know that 860 is a key, not the monster. Monster is 860-2, I believe. And specifically, we're going to be talking about the whole SCP-860-1, which is actually, I'm going to put in you're going to die. Especially if we're banning the use of the gas mask. With the super gas mask, it's actually really, really easy. Without it, you're going to die, because if you find a dead end, that's your dead end. That's the end of you. And this guy is going to be right behind you, ready to bite you. So sometimes you get lucky, you'll find the exit right away, and when you're not so lucky, you're going to die. It's really tricky when you need to get through like 860-1 to get to, like, for example, the door control center, because that means you have to get through it multiple times. If there's no other way around except going through there, it can get really tricky. Next up we have the pocket dimension, which is sort of an encounter. I mean, it's what happens whenever 106 takes you, and you can encounter 106 in the pocket dimension, but that shouldn't be happening unless you're like hanging around for a long time, in which you're probably not doing something right. Now, what's tricky about the pocket dimension is that there are so many different ways to escape, and a lot of it is luck-based. You can get teleported out right away, which is pretty rare, or you can take one of the various methods to escape. Personally, I'd say the worst would probably be the swinging pendulum room, but that might just be because I'm so bad at it. If you have the night vision goggles, it actually makes it pretty easy, but I usually prefer taking the trenches. It does increase the amount of damage you take, but it's a guaranteed way to escape. Every single time you go through those trenches, you know you're going to be escaping. So that's why I usually take that. I'm unsure to put it in difficult or you're going to die, because, again, you have like guaranteed ways to get out. You could get really lucky, and oftentimes you get injured, and then you just use a health pack or two, and then you're good. So I ran a poll recently on my channel, and people voted the pocket dimension to be the hardest challenge, at least among what I put there. And I'm actually going to have to disagree a little bit. I think 860 is harder. I see why people say the pocket dimension, but again, it's not guaranteed death. Sometimes you can get lucky and escape. I agree it's really difficult to escape sometimes, but I don't think it's guaranteed death like these two can be. 1048A, trivial. I mean, run in, wait till he, looks at you, run out, close the door. Bam. NTF, I am going to put in difficult. I don't know if I should be like ordering these tiers or not. I suppose I'll do that. In that case, I'll put this right here, because again, this is my number one run ender, and I'll put NTF below the pocket dimension. It all depends where they spawn, honestly, whether they're difficult or not. But most of the time, they're in a place that you're trying to get to, and when that's happening, it's really annoying more than difficult, because you should pretty much just avoid them. Even with all like the bullet taking mechanics, once they start shooting you, you're pretty much dead. Even with a ballistic vest and some med kits, you're just probably gonna get shot in the head and die. So avoiding the NTF is always the best option, and sometimes avoiding them is really difficult. But there are some upsides. Again, they contain 173. If they find 106, they'll recontain him. So they're not all bad, and they'll also disable Tesla gates, which makes it easier to run from basically the only other threat besides them in the entrance zone, which is 049. But again, they can take up different areas that makes it very difficult for you to navigate the facility, especially if they get stuck inside things, which they often do. But yeah, they're definitely the glitchiest NPC in the entire game. And that's really saying something. So now we have 173 in 00H chamber, which I'm going to put in easy, the bottom of easy. Again, every time you go through this, it's the same thing. I don't think you have enough like blink juice to get through there in and out without spawning 173, unless you're really fast with it. I mean, without 173 breaking through the glass. But usually it's really easy to avoid him. Just keep looking at him, close the thing, get out of there. Bam, you're done. Go to the entrance zone. Next we have the 939 basement, which is another one where if you know what you're doing, it's really easy. And for that, I'm going to put it in easy. But we'll put it at the top of easy because it can be tricky. That's what this tier is, but I'm still going to put it in easy because most of the time you're not going to have any problem. The only problem is if 106 spawns, you're pretty much done. But that more has to do with 106 random spawns, which we're going to get to a little bit later. But yeah, they follow the same path every time, the same direction every time, and they have obvious audio clues. And well, it's a cool lore thing that they can copy the voices. It makes it really easy to tell where they are, and this challenge, you should have no difficulty if you know what you're doing. 049 random spawns, I'm going to put in difficult. Yeah, difficult, because sometimes he spawns in really tricky places, and he often, especially in the heavy containment zone, overlaps with other SCPs. Like if you're getting chased by 106, or you have a random 173 spawn and 049 spawns, it can get really complicated. That's when this game gets actually difficult. This game isn't actually that difficult most of the time, but when you're like being chased by multiple threats at the same time, that's when things get really difficult. You'll have to make some decisions on the fly, and those decision-making skills will mean life or death. And yeah, so I don't think it's deadly all the time. I don't usually die from 049. It's more just like annoying, like, ugh, it's you again. But yeah. Next we have 106 random spawns, which I'm going to put... Yeah. I think it's about the same as 049 random spawns. The thing is, of course, that 106 is the only NPC that can spawn anywhere, and even if you're looking at where he's about to spawn. Now, 106 can be a big problem or a little problem, depending on where you are. For example, if you're in the light containment zone and you have a fairly hull-heavy seed, it's really easy to escape him. You just keep running until he teleports a few times and then he's gone. Or even easier, find a Tesla gate and he's gone. Basically, 106 is difficult or easy depending on the situation. But I'm still going to put him in difficult because when he spawns in really tricky situations, you're pretty much going to die. So those sorts of tricky situations are, like, for example, 049's chamber, 939's basement, when you're trying to get through the server room with 096, the electrical center in the entrance zone, especially if 173 spawns there. Any of those locations, if 106 spawns, you're pretty much a goner, especially in the 939 basement, as I mentioned earlier, because running in there is not a good idea, because these guys will run after you, and I think they're basically as fast as you, and then you run out of stamina, and then you're slower than them, and then you die. So basically, I always wait, when I'm in the light containment zone, I always wait for a 106 spawn, and then I go to the 939 basement. Because if he spawns randomly in there, you're gonna die. And like I said before, it's like the crossover between two or more SCPs, that actually makes the game difficult. Okay, now we'll put 096 random spawns, which I believe only happen in the heavy containment zone. We'll put him in easy. I mean, it's still a pretty easy tell. His crying is pretty loud. So if you hear the crying, just look down. It's really just that easy. In fact, we're going to put him like right here. The one thing is, if he's like across the map and all the doors are open and you happen to see his face before you can hear his crying, maybe that might happen. In that case, yeah, that's kind of dumb, but yeah, you're dead. And for his other encounter, we're going to put that in trivial. We'll put it above the 1048A, but still. Again, if you know how he works, just look down, and then look up when you get to the switches, and then look down again. It's not hard at all to get past this room. And if you're having any difficulty with it, it's either because you're being chased by someone else, or you must be new to the game. 173 in the red gas room. This might be the most iconic encounter in the game because it's been in the game for so long. And I'm actually going to put it in can be tricky because sometimes it's difficult to tell where he is. And the one SCP where you really want to know where he is 173. And it's not just because of the gas in the monitor, it's also because the monitor can change because of 079. If 079 feels like showing 895's feed, that's annoying, but also you don't know where 173 is. That being said, it is pretty easy once you know where he is to get through, but the fact that there's a time limit can make things tricky sometimes, especially if you don't have a lot of stamina. You'll have to regain that before going through. And again, if anything else is chasing you, it makes it equally as difficult. So this is the one like scripted 173 encounter that can be difficult sometimes. 049's chamber we're also going to put and can be tricky. You have the zombies, you have 049. I even had this playthrough where 173 was down there. But the fact that I got through there pretty easily without dying, even with 173 down there, shows that this is not that difficult. Because you know, once you flip both switches, whichever elevator you go to is where 049 spawns. So you'll know, once you go there, you'll just have to run all the way over to the other direction, over to the other elevator. And the zombies, I mean, they hit so slowly you can just run past them. So that's not difficult at all. Again, there are a lot of factors going on there. The zombies, 049, the lights turning off. But again, if you know what you're doing, it should be easy. 049 in the surveillance room, I am going to say is easy. You can pretty much run in, turn the light containment zone lockdown, and then run out, and then by the time you're out, he's coming in through that one door, but you can just go through the other door. It's really not that difficult. Again, he takes so long to get all the way up there that it's just not that difficult at all. The maintenance tunnel. And again, we're assuming you're not using the code. We are actually going through. And in that case, I'm going to put it at the top of difficult. It's difficult, and yeah, 966 is often down there trying to get through the maintenance tunnel while being chased by 106 is tricky sometimes, but this also used to be a lot more difficult back when 106 just walked in a straight line towards you while disregarding all the walls. But now that he like follows a set path, it's a lot easier to avoid getting taken by him. And 173 can also spawn down here sometimes, which can make things extra difficult. And because it's such a tight and confined space, you can die a lot. But again, if you know what you're doing, it's not that hard. And that's the story for a lot of these, let's be honest. Now we have only 173 encounters left, and let's be honest, none of these are difficult. The gas catwalk in the heavy containment zone is just a gas mask check. The T-shaped red room, just don't blink. and then the lights off hallway in the heavy containment zone when you enter it and the lights turn off. We're gonna put that in easy, not quite trivial, because again, that can give you a little bit of trouble having the lights turn off, especially if you're being chased by something else. You're gonna have to look back around towards 173 while the lights are off. But again, it shouldn't be that difficult. We'll put him like right here below server farm. Yeah, so, and you know what, we'll put 939 and can be tricky, because again, if 106 spawns, you're gonna die. But I think that's it for this tier list. Again, SCP Containment Breach, when you know what you're doing, and even with these restrictions, still not that hard of a game. Honestly, the hardest part of the game is getting through without encountering any game-breaking glitches. I mean, I love this game, of course, but it is very broken, even in the latest update. But yeah, that's my SCP Containment Breach Encounters tier list. Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think is the most difficult encounter in the game? Do you find the game challenging or easy? Let me know in the comments. And this is the part of the outro where I talk about my channel, so if you're not interested in hearing about that, then have a good day. But for those of you who are interested, I'm super happy that the channel just hit 500 subs. I mean, I've been making videos for over 5 years, and I honestly never expected that. I know it sounds small for a channel these days, but to me it's a lot, so thank you guys, and to all you new subscribers, welcome to the channel. I don't plan on focusing solely on any one thing. I want to make videos about anything that interests me, anything that I'm into, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it, whatever it is. But when it comes to SCP Containment Breach content, or even SCP content in general, I definitely have some plans for more videos about this game and SCP overall in the future. One thing I want to do is make a part 2 to the iceberg vid, where I do corrections from the first part, and also new entries, because there's a lot more pretty obscure stuff that I've discovered since the first iceberg video. And all things considered, this whole tier list content is a little bit below the standards I want to set for my channel, but I did want to put something out quickly related to SCP Containment Breach, because a lot of people have been asking for more SCP Containment Breach content. Again, I'm going to make videos about whatever I want, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and hopefully you'll enjoy whatever I put out in the future. And, you know, if you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, all the generic YouTuber stuff. Have a good day.